Our guy Hyunwoo is sitting in the back of his high school classroom, and while everyone else is sweating bullets over the upcoming Hunter Academy entrance exam, he's got his head down on his desk looking like he hasn't slept in 3 days. The teacher calls on him to answer a question about basic mana control, and this dude doesn't even lift his head, just mumbles the answer so casually that the entire class goes silent because what he just explained was actually university-level theory that made their textbook look like a children's coloring book. The teacher's jaw is on the floor, the top student in class is having an existential crisis, and Hyunwoo just goes back to sleep like he didn't just absolutely dog on the entire education system. Don't let that fool you though, because the seemingly lazy teenager with the worst attendance record in school history is actually the reincarnation of the most feared assassin who ever lived, a man who made entire kingdoms tremble just by hearing his codename whispered in the dark. But to understand how a legendary killer ended up as a sleepy high schooler, we need to go back to his previous life, back when he was known as the Phantom of the Azure Moon, back when he was the absolute peak of what a human could become. 30 years ago, in another world, there exists a man named Raiwan who stands at the top of the Crimson Veil organization, the most elite group of assassins that operates in the shadows of the 5 great kingdoms. This man is built different, and when I say built different, I mean he's been training since he was 4 years old, has never failed a single mission in 26 years, and has a body count so high that the organization stopped keeping track after it hit 4 digits. His reputation is so insane that nobles pay triple just to make sure they're never on his hit list, and there are literally children's bedtime stories about the monster in the darkness that comes for those who do evil, except the monster is actually Raiwan and he's very real. The organization sends him on what they call an extinction mission, which basically means there's an entire corrupt noble family that needs to be erased from existence before dawn, and they're holed up in a fortress that has 200 guards, magical barriers, and attack dogs that can smell assassins from a mile away. Raiwan approaches this fortress alone, dressed in his signature dark blue cloak that seems to absorb light itself, and he moves through the shadows like he's made of smoke and bad intentions. The guards don't even know he's there until it's too late, and I'm talking about this man clearing entire hallways before anyone can even raise an alarm. He's using techniques that take normal assassins 10 years to learn, except he's chaining them together so smoothly that it looks like a deadly dance choreographed by death itself. The magical barriers that cost the noble family millions to install might as well be wet paper because Raiwan knows exactly where to strike to shatter them, and those attack dogs that were supposed to be unstoppable just whimper and back away when they sense his killing intent because even animals know when they're in the presence of an apex predator. He reaches the noble family's inner chambers where the patriarch is hiding with his personal guard. 12 of the strongest knights money can buy, and these knights actually think they have a chance because they've trained their whole lives for moments like this. Raiwan doesn't even draw his sword for the first 11, just uses their own weapons against them with redirects and counters so clean that it looks like they're choreographing their own deaths, and when he finally does draw his blade for the last knight and the patriarch, it's over in 2 moves so fast that they're both dead before either body hits the ground. The mission is completed with 3 hours to spare before dawn, and this is just a Tuesday for Raiwan, just another name crossed off in the organization's ledger. He returns to the headquarters where his handler congratulates him and tells him that the higher-ups are so impressed they want to promote him to Shadow Master, which is basically the assassin equivalent of becoming a god among men. But here's the thing, Raiwan has been doing this for over 2 decades, and he's tired in a way that sleep can't fix, tired of the blood and the screaming and the empty hotel rooms in cities he can't even remember the names of. He tells his handler something that shocks everyone who hears about it later. He says he wants out, he wants to retire, he wants to use his saved-up fortune to buy a little house somewhere quiet and live the rest of his days as a normal person. The organization has a rule that once you reach a certain level, you can retire with full honors as long as you train your replacement, and Raiwan has already been mentoring a young assassin named Taehyun who he thinks of almost like a little brother. So the deal is set and he's given 6 months to wrap up his affairs. During these 6 months, Raiwan does something he's never allowed himself to do before. He falls in love. Her name is Yerin, and she runs a small flower shop in the capital city. And she has absolutely no idea that her new regular customer who always buys white chrysanthemums is actually the world's deadliest assassin. She just thinks he's a quiet merchant who travels a lot for work, and Raiwan likes it that way, likes being seen as normal for once in his blood-soaked life. They start having tea together after the shop closes, and Raiwan finds himself talking about things he's never talked about before. His childhood dreams before the organization took him, his love of stargazing, his secret talent for cooking, all the soft parts of himself that he buried under decades of kill orders and corpses. Yerin makes him laugh, actually laugh. Not the cold chuckle he gives when a target begs for mercy, but real genuine laughter that makes his chest feel warm and light. He proposes to her on a spring evening under a sky full of stars, and when she says yes with tears streaming down her face, Raiwan thinks that maybe, just maybe, a monster like him can have a happy ending after all. They get married in a small ceremony with just a few of Yerin's friends and family, and Raiwan attends under his cover identity as a retired merchant. And for one perfect day, he's not the Phantom of the Azure Moon. He's just a man who loves his wife more than anything in the world. He buys them a cottage 2 hours outside the capital, a cozy place with a garden where Yerin immediately starts planting flowers, and Raiwan spends his days learning how to fix the roof and cook proper meals, and be a normal husband to the woman who saved him from the darkness. His retirement date is set for 3 months away, and he's already planning their future, thinking about maybe adopting some kids, growing old together, dying peacefully in bed instead of in some alley with a knife in his back. Taehyun visits sometimes, and Raiwon teaches him the final advanced techniques he'll need to know. And his young mentee seems genuinely happy for him, always asking about married life and joking about how domestic Raiwon has become. Everything is perfect, so perfect that Raiwon should have known it couldn't last, should have remembered that people like him don't get happy endings, should have seen the signs that were right in front of his face the whole time. It happens on a regular Thursday afternoon when Raiwon is out getting supplies from the village market. He returns home with ingredients for Yeren's favorite meal, already planning how he'll surprise her with dinner, and the first thing he notices is that the front door is open when it should be locked. His assassin instincts kick in immediately, and he drops the groceries and rushes inside to find a scene that will haunt him forever. Yeren is on the floor in a pool of blood, and standing over her body is Taehyun, his sword still dripping red, and the young man Raiwon thought of as a brother is smiling like he just accomplished something wonderful. Raiwon's mind goes completely blank, and then it goes completely red, and he attacks with a fury that would have killed anyone else in seconds. But Taehyun isn't just anyone. He's been trained by the best, and apparently he's been holding back his true skill level this whole time. They fight, and it's devastating. The cottage is destroyed around them, and Taehyun is laughing while explaining that the organization never intended to let Raiwon retire, that a legend like him knows too many secrets to be allowed to live peacefully, that they ordered his termination the moment he announced his retirement. Taehyun reveals that he's been the organization's real golden boy for years now, that everything he learned from Raiwon was just icing on the cake, that killing Yeren was his final test to prove he could make the hard choices that Raiwon's weak heart couldn't. Raiwon is fighting through injuries and grief and rage, and he's still matching Taehyun blow for blow because even half dead with a broken heart, this man is aura farming on a level that defies human limitation. He actually starts winning, starts pushing Taehyun back, and there's a moment where he could deliver the killing blow, except he hesitates because despite everything, part of him still sees that young student he trained all those years. That hesitation costs him everything because Taehyun doesn't have the same weakness, and he drives his blade straight through Raiwon's chest, and our glorious king drops to his knees right next to Yeren's body. Taehyun tells him that he'll be remembered as the greatest assassin who ever lived before walking away, leaving Raiwon to bleed out in the ruins of the only home he ever had. Raiwon crawls to Yeren's body and holds her hand even though it's already cold, and he's crying for the first time since he was a child, crying for the life they should have had and the future that got stolen from them. He thinks about every choice that led him here, every kill he made that built his reputation, every time he told himself that one more mission would be the last one, and he realizes that this was always how it was going to end. People like him don't retire to cottages with flower gardens. People like him die in pools of blood and broken dreams, and the universe was just letting him pretend otherwise for a few beautiful months. His vision is fading, and his last thought before the darkness takes him is that he hopes in the next life, if there is a next life, he can be someone different, someone who never learned how to kill, someone who could actually protect the people he loves. The darkness swallows him completely, and the phantom of the Azure Moon dies nameless and alone. Just another corpse for the organization to clean up and forget about. And that should have been the end of his story, except the universe apparently has other plans. Raiwon opens his eyes to fluorescent lights and the steady beep of a heart monitor. And for a few seconds he thinks maybe someone found him and saved him. But then he tries to sit up and realizes his body is all wrong. His hands are smaller, his arms are weaker, and when he looks down he's wearing a hospital gown and everything about this body feels foreign, like he's wearing someone else's skin. A nurse walks in and starts speaking in a language he somehow understands even though he's never heard it before. And she's calling him Hyunwoo and asking how he's feeling after his accident. Panic sets in and he demands a mirror, and when the nurse brings him one he sees a teenage face staring back at him, maybe 16 or 17 years old, with dark circles under the eyes and a gauntness that speaks of poor health. This isn't his face, this isn't his world, and slowly the memories start flooding in, memories that aren't his but somehow are because they're in this body's brain. The original Hyunwoo was a sickly student who barely passed his classes, who had weak mana channels that made him useless in a world where hunters and awakened beings are the pinnacle of society, and who apparently got hit by a car 3 days ago and has been in a coma ever since. Raiwon, or Hyunwoo, or whoever he is now, pieces together what happened through fragmented memories and context clues from the nurse's chatter. He's been reincarnated into a world that's similar to his old one but different, a world where monsters emerge from dimensional gates and hunters fight them for glory and money. A world where power is measured in ranks and levels instead of kill counts and reputation. He's in the body of someone who was weak and overlooked, someone who was bullied and dismissed, someone who is the complete opposite of the legendary assassin he used to be. The nurse leaves and a woman rushes in, middle-aged with kind eyes and worry written all over her face, and the memories tell him this is his mother in this life, a single parent who works 3 jobs to support them. She's crying and hugging him and telling him how scared she was that she'd lose him, and Raiwon feels something crack in his chest because this woman actually cares whether he lives or dies, unlike the organization that raised him as a weapon. He hugs her back awkwardly because the original Hyunwoo's memories show they weren't very close, that he was sullen and distant, too wrapped up in his own weakness to appreciate what he had. Over the next few days, as he recovers in the hospital, Raiwan starts to accept his new reality while grieving his old one. He thinks about Yeren constantly, about her smile and her laugh and the way she made him feel human, and he knows he can never get her back, can never return to that world or that life. But putting two and two together, he realizes this is the second chance he wished for in his dying moments, a chance to live differently, to use his skills not for killing but for protecting. When he's finally discharged and goes home to the tiny apartment his new mother works herself to the bone to afford, Raiwan makes a decision. He's not going to be the weak, sickly Hyunwoo who gave up on everything because his mana channels were subpar. He's going to use every single technique, every piece of knowledge, every skill from his decades as the world's greatest assassin to become strong in this world too. But this time he's going to use that strength to protect his new family instead of serving an organization that sees people as disposable tools. His mother doesn't need to work 3 jobs, his body doesn't need to be weak, and he definitely doesn't need to be the bullied loser that everyone looks down on. He starts training that very night, doing basic exercises that his teenage body can barely handle, feeling the burn of muscles that have never been properly used, and he's smiling through the pain because this is his new beginning. Meanwhile, back at the organization in his old world, Taehyun is probably getting promoted and Raiwan's death is probably already forgotten. But that's fine because the phantom of the Azure Moon is dead and gone. What's about to emerge in this new world is something different, something that will make the hunter rankings absolutely lose their minds, and our glorious king is just getting started. Hyunwoo wakes up in his new bedroom 3 days after being discharged from the hospital, and the first thing he notices is how soft the bed is, like sleeping on an actual cloud instead of the rock-hard military cots he used in his previous life. The room itself is huge, easily 3 times the size of any safe house he ever stayed in, with floor-to-ceiling windows that let in golden morning light and shelves packed with books and gaming equipment that the original owner apparently never used much. He sits up slowly because this teenage body still feels foreign, like wearing a suit that's almost the right size but not quite, and he's testing the flexibility of his joints when there's a gentle knock on the door and both his parents walk in carrying a breakfast tray. His father is this tall, distinguished man with paint stains on his expensive cardigan because apparently he's one of the country's most celebrated artists. And his mother has this warm smile that reaches her eyes in a way that makes Hyunwoo's chest hurt because nobody ever looked at the assassin Raiwan with this kind of uncomplicated love. They're asking him how he slept and whether he remembers what happened before the accident. And he tells them his memory is a bit fuzzy, which is technically true since he's sorting through 2 lifetimes of memories, like trying to organize a library where half the books are in a different language. His father sits on the edge of the bed and explains that Hyunwoo was hit by a car while crossing the street a month ago, that he's been in a coma this whole time, and that the doctors said it was a miracle he woke up with no brain damage. His mother is holding his hand and crying happy tears, talking about how scared they were that they'd lost their only son. And Hyunwoo feels this weird mix of guilt and warmth because the original owner of this body had loving parents and he apparently took it for granted. She mentions that he might have trouble with some memories and that it's completely normal after head trauma. So if anything feels strange or unfamiliar, he should just tell them, and they'll help him piece things together. Raiwan is internally grateful for this excuse because trying to act like a teenager when you have 3 decades of assassination experience is harder than it sounds, and he's already caught himself moving too efficiently, standing too alertly, scanning rooms for exits and threats in ways that normal high school students definitely don't do. His father says something that surprises him though, mentions that before the accident Hyunwoo had been distant and troubled, spending all his time alone in his room, and that maybe this fresh start after waking up could be a chance to reconnect as a family. They leave him to eat breakfast and get ready for the day, and Hyunwoo takes the opportunity to really explore his new room and piece together who the original owner was. There are photos everywhere, pictures of a younger Hyunwoo with his parents at art galleries and medical conferences, images of him at a prestigious middle school with a girl who appears in almost every photo, candid shots of family vacations to places Raiwan has never seen outside of mission briefings. The original Hyunwoo was a good kid from what he can tell, maybe a bit lonely and introverted but not cruel or selfish, just someone who felt inadequate living in the shadow of his accomplished parents and retreated into himself as a result. There's a journal in the desk drawer and Hyunwoo flips through it, reading entries about feeling pressured to succeed, about disappointing his family, about pushing away the one friend who actually cared about him because he was too proud to let her see him struggle. Raiwan closes the journal and makes a silent vow to this kid whose body he now inhabits, promises that he won't waste this second chance, that he'll use everything he learned in his previous life to protect this family and live the kind of normal, happy existence that both Raiwan and the original Hyunwoo deserved but never got. The next few days are surreal in a way that has nothing to do with being reincarnated and everything to do with experiencing normal teenage life for the first time ever. His parents insist he take it easy before going back to school, so Hyunwoo spends the time doing incredibly mundane things like eating breakfast with his family, watching his father paint in the home studio, helping his mother tend to the rooftop garden she maintains despite her busy schedule as a hospital director. These small domestic moments hit different when you spent your previous life eating alone in hotel rooms between contracts and the only garden you ever saw was the one where your wife was murdered. He finds himself appreciating things that the original Hyunwoo took for granted. The way his father hums while mixing paints, the sound of his mother's laughter when they watch cooking shows together, the safety of falling asleep knowing nobody is going to kick down the door with a hit order. There are moments when he thinks about Yeren and feels the grief crash over him like a wave. remembers her smile in the flower shop and the future they planned. But he's starting to accept that she's gone and that clinging to that pain won't honor her memory the way living fully in this new life will. On the 5th day after waking up, Hyunwoo is in the living room attempting to understand the homework assignments he's supposed to catch up on when there's a commotion at the front gate. His mother goes to check the security camera and comes back with this knowing smile, tells him that his friend Yuna is here to see him and has apparently brought an entire care package despite being told he's fine now. Before Hyunwoo can ask who Yuna is, the door opens and in walks this girl who's clearly dressed expensive but not flashy about it. Designer uniform from one of those elite private schools, and she's got tears streaming down her face as she rushes over and hugs him so hard he actually has to brace himself. She's talking a mile a minute about how worried she was, how she visited him every single day in the hospital, how his parents had to physically drag her away some nights, and Hyunwoo is accessing the original owner's memories and finding that this girl has been his friend since they were literally in diapers. Their families are close, and she's apparently the only person who stuck by him even when he pushed everyone away. Yuna pulls back and looks at him with these concerned eyes, asking if he really doesn't remember her, and Hyunwoo makes a split-second decision to play it partially honest. Tells her that everything is a bit fuzzy, but he remembers the important parts. Remembers that she's his best friend and that he's been kind of a jerk to her lately for reasons he can't fully explain. She laughs through her tears and punches his shoulder. Says that the accident must have knocked some sense into him because the old Hyunwoo would never admit to being wrong about anything. His mother suggests that Yuna take him out for a bit, since he's been cooped up in the house. Maybe go get some fresh air and help him readjust to normal life before he returns to school next week. Yuna's face lights up and she's already pulling out her phone to call her driver, talking about taking him to this cafe he used to love and maybe walking through the park. And Hyunwoo finds himself agreeing because the original owner's memories show that Yuna is genuinely kind and deserves better than being pushed away by someone too proud to accept friendship. They end up in the back of an actual limousine, which shouldn't surprise Hyunwoo given that Yuna's family apparently owns half the pharmaceutical companies in the country. But it's still wild to be driven around in luxury when his previous life involved stolen cars and public transportation to avoid being tracked. Yuna is chatting about everything he missed while he was in the coma, talking about school drama and upcoming exams and some festival that's happening next month. And she's so genuinely happy to have him back that Hyunwoo feels guilty about not actually being the friend she thinks she's talking to. She mentions wanting to throw a recovery party for him, invite some of their classmates, help him reconnect with people, and Hyunwoo is about to politely decline when she adds that she knows he's been struggling with feeling inadequate compared to his parents, but that she's always thought he was amazing just as he is. That hits different because it's exactly what the original Hyunwoo needed to hear but was too stubborn to accept. And Raiwon makes a mental note to be a better friend to this girl than his predecessor was. They arrive at the school because Yuna wants to grab some materials from her locker before they head to the cafe. And the place is mostly empty since it's the weekend except for some students doing club activities. The building is massive and clearly expensive, one of those elite private academies where the tuition costs more than most people make in a year. And Hyunwoo is taking it all in when he notices 3 guys standing near the entrance watching them with expressions that his assassin instincts immediately categorize as hostile. Yuna tenses up next to him and tries to steer him around them, but the largest one steps into their path and starts talking about how lucky Hyunwoo is to wake up from his little nap, how some people were hoping he'd stay asleep permanently, how convenient it would be if he had an accident on his first day back. The other 2 laugh and spread out to flank them, and Hyunwoo is putting 2 and 2 together from the original owner's memories. Realizes these are sons of business rivals to Yuna's family. Guys who have been harassing both of them for months because their parents are competing for some major contract. The lead bully, some guy named Do-hyun who's apparently the captain of the boxing club and thinks that makes him untouchable, grabs Hyunwoo's shoulder and squeezes hard enough that it would hurt a normal person. He's saying something about how Hyunwoo should tell his parents to convince Yuna's family to drop their bid for the contract, threatening that accidents can happen to healthy people too. And Yuna is trying to intervene, but one of the other guys blocks her path. Hyunwoo looks at the hand on his shoulder and then up at Do-hyun's face, and he speaks in this perfectly calm voice that has undertones of something dark and dangerous, tells him that he has exactly 3 seconds to remove his hand before Hyunwoo removes it for him in a way that will require surgery to reattach. Do-hyun laughs like this is the funniest thing he's ever heard, calls Hyunwoo a weak little rich boy who's all talk, and makes the fatal mistake of tightening his grip instead of backing off. What happens next takes approximately 4 seconds but will be replayed in school security footage for weeks afterward, analyzed by students and teachers who can't quite believe what they're seeing. Hyunwoo moves, and it's not the awkward shuffling of a teenager who just woke from a coma. It's the fluid, precise motion of someone who's ended lives with less effort than it takes to breathe. He breaks Do-hyun's grip with a wrist lock so fast and clean that the bully doesn't even register the pain until he's already being spun around. And then Hyunwoo absolutely dogs on him with a throw that sends the supposedly tough boxing captain flying through the air and crashing into a trash can 6 feet away. The other 2 bullies freeze for half a second in shock before rushing at him together, and our glorious king casually evades the first one's punch by tilting his head exactly 2 inches to the left, redirects the guy's momentum to send him stumbling past, and then catches the second attacker's kick mid-swing and sweeps his standing leg so smoothly that the dude basically plants himself face first into the ground. Do-hyun is struggling to get up from the trash can, and Hyunwoo walks over with this expression that's completely neutral, no anger or excitement or fear, just the cold, professional demeanor of someone who's done this exact kind of thing 1,000 times before in much more lethal contexts. He tells Do-hyun very clearly that if he or his friends come near Yuna again, if they so much as look at her wrong or mention her name in conversation, Hyunwoo will find them and demonstrate what a real accident looks like. And there's something in his voice that makes all three bullies go pale because on some primal level they recognize they're not dealing with another high school student. Hyunwoo returns to where Yuna is standing frozen in shock, asks if she's okay, and suggests they skip the locker stop and just head straight to the cafe since this place suddenly feels unpleasant. She follows him numbly to the limo, keeps staring at him like he's a stranger wearing her best friend's face, and finally asks how he did that. Asks if the accident somehow changed him. Asks who he really is. Hyunwoo gives her the excuse he prepared for exactly this situation. Tells her that being in a coma gave him a lot of time to think, that he's tired of being weak and afraid, that he's been secretly training in martial arts for months before the accident and just never told anyone because he was embarrassed. It's a weak explanation that doesn't really account for the level of skill he just displayed, but Yuna wants to believe him because the alternative is too strange to accept. So she nods slowly and says she's glad he's learning to defend himself, but maybe warn her next time before he speed blitzes three guys like he's teleporting around the battlefield. They spend the rest of the afternoon at the cafe and Hyunwoo works hard to be normal, to laugh at Yuna's jokes and talk about mundane things and act like a regular teenager who definitely didn't just utilize assassin-level combat techniques on school grounds. Meanwhile, back at the school, one of the security guards is reviewing the footage of the fight and frowning because something about the way Hyunwoo moved seems familiar, seems professional, seems wrong for a high school kid who's been in a coma. That security guard makes a phone call to a number that's not in any official directory, speaks in code to someone on the other end, describes what he saw and sends the footage. The person receiving the call sits in a dark office somewhere in the city, watching the security video on loop, and they're seeing what nobody else caught because they're trained to notice these things. They see the efficiency of movement, the economy of motion, the way Hyunwoo positioned himself to have escape routes and tactical advantages, the subtle tells of someone with real killing experience dumbed down to look like a lucky street fight. This person picks up another phone and makes a different call, reports to their superior that they might have found him, that the target who was supposed to be dead in another world might have somehow survived and ended up here, that the legendary phantom of the Azure Moon might be walking around in the body of a rich teenager. The voice on the other end is cold and calculating, says that if it's really him then they need to be sure, tells them to send someone to test this supposed reincarnation, someone expendable who can confirm whether this Hyunwoo actually has the skills of the greatest assassin who ever lived or if this is just a coincidence of someone who happens to move well. The call ends and plans are set in motion, and somewhere in the city an assassin receives a contract with Hyunwoo's photo attached, instructions to observe and engage, to push hard enough to see what this kid is really capable of without actually killing him yet because if he's valuable they'll want him alive for questioning. This assassin looks at the smiling school photo of Hyunwoo and laughs because the kid looks soft and pampered, absolutely nothing like the legendary figure they're supposedly testing for, and they accept the job thinking it'll be easy money. They have no idea that they're about to go up against someone who made entire kingdoms tremble, someone who's already died once and has absolutely nothing left to lose, someone who's decided that this second life will be lived on his own terms no matter who tries to interfere. Hyunwoo returns home that evening and eats dinner with his parents, tells them about his day with Yuna in terms vague enough to skip the part about hospitalizing three bullies, and he's smiling and playing the role of normal teenager while internally preparing for what he knows is coming because you don't live as the world's greatest assassin without developing instincts for when you're being hunted. He goes to bed that night and lies awake staring at the ceiling, thinking about the fact that he gave up trying to hide his skills the moment he defended Yuna, knowing that someone somewhere probably noticed and is drawing conclusions. Part of him is relieved because pretending to be weak was never going to work long-term anyway, and another part is already planning contingencies for when whoever is looking for him finally makes their move. He thinks about Yeren one more time before sleep takes him, apologizes to her memory for the violence he knows is coming, promises that this time he'll protect the people he cares about instead of watching them die while he bleeds out helpless on the floor. Tomorrow he'll go back to being a normal student, will attend classes and eat lunch and do homework like the world isn't about to come crashing down around him. But tonight our glorious king is preparing for war because the phantom of the Azure Moon might be dead but Hyunwoo is very much alive, and he's about to show anyone stupid enough to threaten his new family exactly what happens when you poke a sleeping dragon. And speaking of the devil, the assassin sent to test him is already in the city, already watching his house from a rooftop across the street, already making the biggest mistake of their professional career by thinking this will be anything other than a complete disaster for everyone except Hyunwoo. The dinner party happens on a Friday evening and Hyunwoo's mother has gone completely overboard with decorations and food, turning their spacious dining room into something that looks like a celebration fit for royalty rather than just a teenager who woke up from a coma. There are easily 20 different dishes spread across the table, everything from traditional homemade favorites to expensive catered items that probably cost more than most families spend on groceries in a month. And the whole house smells like warmth and love and all the things Raiwan never had in his previous life. Yuna arrives with her mother, both of them dressed elegantly but not overly formal, and Hyunwoo's parents greet them like the family they basically are after decades of friendship between the two households. Everyone sits down to eat and the conversation flows easily, his father telling embarrassing stories about young Hyunwoo, Yuna's mother sharing updates about her pharmaceutical company's latest breakthrough, and Yuna herself keeps stealing glances at Hyunwoo like she's still processing the version of him that destroyed 3 bullies with the casual efficiency of swatting flies. The food is incredible, and Hyunwoo finds himself eating this homemade stew his mother made. And the taste hits him so hard he has to put his spoon down because it reminds him of something Yaren used to cook. This specific combination of spices and vegetables that she'd prepare on cold evenings in their cottage. And he's blinking back tears while pretending he just bit his tongue. His mother notices and asks if he's okay, and Hyunwoo tells her the food is so good it's emotional, which makes everyone laugh. But internally he's dying because these happy domestic moments just highlight everything he lost and can never get back. Yuna reaches under the table and squeezes his hand in what she thinks is comfort for a friend overwhelmed by the party. And she has no idea that the person sitting next to her is actually a 30-year-old assassin grieving his murdered wife while trying to navigate being a teenager again. The party continues and they move to the living room for dessert, and Hyunwoo is genuinely enjoying himself despite the emotional turbulence, listening to his father and Yuna's mother reminisce about when their kids were in elementary school, watching his mother and Yuna bond over some medical drama they both love. But underneath the happiness there's this persistent feeling crawling up his spine, that sixth sense that kept him alive through hundreds of contracts. The instinct that's screaming something is wrong even though nothing appears out of place. He catches himself scanning the windows and checking sight lines, old habits from a dead life bleeding through into this new existence. And he forces himself to relax because he's probably just paranoid from knowing that someone out there is investigating him. The party winds down around 10 and Yuna's mother has to leave for an emergency board meeting, something about a product recall that needs immediate attention. And she asks if Hyunwoo would mind walking Yuna home since they only live a few blocks apart in this wealthy neighborhood. His parents think it's a great idea, probably hoping the two of them will reconnect properly after months of the original Hyunwoo pushing her away. And Yuna seems genuinely happy about the prospect of more time together. They leave the house and start walking through streets lined with designer homes and perfect landscaping. Everything quiet and peaceful in that way only rich neighborhoods can be. And Yuna is talking about how glad she is that he's back to himself, how scared she was visiting him in the hospital every day and wondering if he'd ever wake up. She mentions that the past 2 months have been the hardest of her life, and Hyunwoo is about to ask why when she continues unprompted. Tells him that her father died 8 weeks ago in what the police called a random mugging gone wrong, but she knows in her heart was something more sinister. Her voice breaks when she talks about it, and Hyunwoo can see tears forming in her eyes. And she's explaining that her father was a good man who worked as an accountant for various companies, that he was cautious and careful and would never be in a dangerous part of town at 3 in the morning where they found his body. She says the timing was terrible because it happened the same night as Hyunwoo's accident. So she was dealing with losing her father and potentially losing her best friend simultaneously. And the only thing that got her through those dark weeks was visiting Hyunwoo's hospital room and talking to his unconscious body about everything she was feeling. They reach her house, this massive estate with actual security gates, and she invites him in for a moment because she wants to show him something. They go to her father's study, which her mother has kept exactly as it was, and Yuna picks up a framed photo from the desk, hands it to Hyunwoo with this sad smile, tells him she talks to this picture every night and pretends her dad can hear her updates about life and school and how Hyunwoo finally woke up. Hyunwoo takes the photo and looks at it, and the world stops moving, his blood turns to ice, and it takes every single ounce of his legendary self-control not to drop the frame and collapse right there. The man in the photo is older than when Raiwan last saw him, grayer and softer around the edges. But there's absolutely no mistaking the face because it's burned into his memory as target number 473, the corrupt noble from his final mission. Except that's impossible because that was a different world and a different life. But putting 2 and 2 together with supernatural implications he doesn't fully understand. Hyunwoo realizes that souls or fates or whatever cosmic force controls reincarnation apparently sent multiple people from his old world to this new one. And the man he assassinated in a fortress surrounded by 200 guards is the same man who raised Yuna, who loved her and cared for her and was her entire world before someone murdered him in an alley 8 weeks ago. The guilt hits Hyunwoo like a physical blow, makes it hurt every fiber of his soul. Because in his previous life he ended this man without hesitation or remorse, just another contract to complete before retirement. And now he's standing in that man's study holding his photo while his daughter grieves and trusts Hyunwoo completely without knowing her best friend is the reason she's an orphan. Yuna mistakes his frozen expression for shared grief and hugs him, thanks him for being there for her, says that having him back makes the pain of losing her father slightly more bearable because at least she didn't lose everyone she cared about. Hyunwoo manages to say something appropriate about her father seeming like a good man from what she shared, and internally he's spiraling because the original target was flagged as corrupt and dangerous, but maybe in this world he was actually innocent, or maybe the organization that killed him followed him across realities, or maybe Hyunwoo's previous actions have consequences that span multiple lifetimes. He walks home in a daze after saying goodnight to Yuna, and that feeling of being watched intensifies to the point where he's certain someone is tailing him. Except when he uses old techniques to check his surroundings, he can't spot anyone, which means whoever is following him is skilled enough to avoid detection by one of the greatest assassins who ever lived. He reaches his house and the feeling doesn't go away, actually gets stronger, and Hyunwoo makes a decision that will probably blow his cover as a normal teenager, but he can't risk his new family being collateral damage in whatever is coming. He waits until his parents are asleep and then slips out of the house through his bedroom window, moving with the silent precision that The night air is cold and the construction site is dark, all shadows and half-built structures that provide excellent cover for both hunter and prey. And Hyunwoo doesn't have to wait long before a figure drops from one of the steel beams above him with enough force to crack the concrete. The figure rises and Hyunwoo can see it's a man dressed in dark tactical gear, face covered by a mask, weapons visible at his belt and thighs, and the way he moves screams professional killer in the same way Hyunwoo's old colleagues used to move. The assassin tells him through the mask that his name is BM and he's here on behalf of an organization that operates in the shadows, that they've been watching Hyunwoo since the school incident, and they need to confirm whether he's really who they think he is or just some talented kid who got lucky. BM continues talking and reveals that they're also interested in Yuna, specifically in something her father was hiding before his convenient death, some kind of secret treasure or information that the organization wants recovered, and they believe Yuna inherited whatever it is without knowing its significance. Hyunwoo feels everything click into place with horrible clarity, realizes that the organization from his old world somehow exists here too, that they killed Yuna's father for the same reason they killed targets in his previous life, and now they're after her for something she probably doesn't even know she has. BM says that Hyunwoo can make this easy by telling them what he knows and helping them get to Yuna, or he can make it hard and BM will beat the information out of him before killing him and taking the girl anyway. The casual way he threatens Yuna, the assumption that Hyunwoo will just cooperate or die, it flips a switch in Hyunwoo's brain that hasn't been touched since Taehyun stood over Yaren's body, and our glorious king decides that this assassin is about to learn why legends are called legends. The fight starts fast with BM lunging forth and throwing knives that whistle through the air with lethal precision, and Hyunwoo moves on pure instinct, his teenage body struggling to execute the dodges his mind knows perfectly. He's slower than he used to be, weaker, untrained in this new form, but 3 decades of muscle memory and combat experience don't just disappear because you change bodies. BM closes the distance and unleashes a devastating blow aimed at Hyunwoo's throat. A killing strike that would have worked on anyone else, but Hyunwoo redirects it with a forearm block and counters with a palm strike to BM's solar plexus that has enough power behind it to send the assassin stumbling back. They exchange blows and it becomes clear that BM is highly skilled, probably A rank in this world's hunter classification system, using techniques enhanced with mana that make his strikes hit harder and his movements faster than normal humans can achieve. Hyunwoo doesn't have access to mana control yet in this body, is fighting purely on technical skill, and it shows when BM's blade gets through his defense and opens a cut across his ribs that immediately starts bleeding. The pain is sharp, but Hyunwoo has felt worse, has fought through injuries that would drop normal people, and he adapts his strategy on the fly because clearly trying to match BM's enhanced physical stats isn't going to work. He starts fighting dirty, using the environment to his advantage, throwing construction debris to create openings, employing psychological tactics to make BM angry and sloppy, demonstrating the difference between someone who learned to fight in a training hall versus someone who learned to kill in actual life or death situations across hundreds of contracts. BM gets frustrated and makes a mistake, overextends on a sword thrust, and Hyunwoo catches his wrist and breaks it with a twist so vicious that even through the mask you can hear BM scream. The assassin drops his primary weapon and falls back, pulling a backup knife with his offhand, and he's breathing hard now, reassessing this target who was supposed to be easy, and he makes the fatal error of threatening Yuna again, says that even if Hyunwoo kills him there are others coming, that the organization will reduce her entire family to ashes to get what they want. Something in Hyunwoo's expression changes when he hears that threat, and anyone who knew the phantom of the Azure Moon would recognize the look, would see the cold professional mask sliding into place over the friendly teenager facade. He remembers Yaren dying on their cottage floor, remembers being too late and too weak to save her, remembers swearing that he'd never let that happen again, and locks in at that moment with singular focus on making sure this assassin never gets anywhere near Yuna. The fight shifts and suddenly Hyunwoo isn't defending or adapting anymore. He's on the offensive, moving like terror looms in physical form, utilizing techniques that shouldn't be possible for someone with his body's limited physical enhancement. He catches BM's knife hand and disarms him, sweeps his legs, follows him down, and delivers strikes to nerve clusters and pressure points that leave the assassin paralyzed and gasping. BM is on the ground looking up at Hyunwoo with genuine fear in his eyes, and Hyunwoo tells him very clearly that he's letting him live as a message, that he should return to whoever sent him and explain that Yuna is under protection, that anyone who comes after her will end up much worse than simply broken and humiliated. Hyunwoo steps back and BM scrambles away, literally crawling backward before managing to get to his feet and run with the desperate energy of someone who just survived an encounter with death itself. The assassin disappears into the night and Hyunwoo is left standing in the construction site, bleeding from multiple cuts, breathing hard from exertion his teenage body isn't used to, and he's looking at his shaking hands wondering if he's doomed to be a killer in every life he lives. He makes his way home and cleans his wounds in the bathroom, using first aid skills that are second nature, and he's so focused on the physical injuries that he almost doesn't notice the emotional ones. The guilt of knowing Yuna's father's death is ultimately his fault even if different people pulled the trigger in different worlds. The fear that his presence in her life will only bring more danger. The crushing weight of keeping secrets from someone who trusts him completely. Meanwhile, back at the organization's headquarters in some unmarked building downtown, BM is delivering his report to a shadowed figure sitting behind a desk, and he's explaining that the target is definitely him, definitely the legendary phantom reborn into a new body, and they need to approach the situation with extreme caution. The shadowed figure listens to Byum's account of the fight, how Hyunwoo moved with skills far beyond what his body should be capable of, how he demonstrated knowledge of techniques that don't exist in this world's modern combat systems, how his eyes held the cold certainty of someone who's killed so many people that adding one more wouldn't even register. The figure dismisses Byum and makes a phone call, speaks to someone they address with reverence and fear, explains the situation and recommends sending one of their divine spears to handle this personally. The voice on the other end agrees and says they'll dispatch Chiwoo, who's known as the Lightning Blade and ranks in the top 5 assassins the organization currently employs, someone who specializes in infiltration and elimination of high-value targets in public settings. The plan is simple and brutal. Chiwoo will enroll in Hyunwoo school under a false identity, get close to both Hyunwoo and Yuna, identify what treasure the girl has and whether Hyunwoo can be turned to their side or needs to be eliminated, and complete the mission within 2 weeks before their enemies realize what's happening. The call ends and preparations begin, and somewhere in a training facility a young man named Chiwoo receives his assignment folder with photos of Hyunwoo and Yuna, reads through their backgrounds and known capabilities, and he's smiling because this looks like the most interesting job he's had in months. He's studying Hyunwoo's school picture and thinking about how he'll approach this, what persona he'll adopt, how quickly he can get close to someone who supposedly has the instincts of a legendary assassin, and he's already planning his first move for when he shows up at the school on Monday as a mysterious transfer student with a tragic backstory that will make him sympathetic and interesting to his targets. Chiwoo has never failed a mission in his 5-year career, has a perfect record of eliminations and extractions, and he's looking forward to testing himself against someone who might actually provide a challenge instead of the usual civilians and low-level hunters he gets assigned to kill. He has no idea that he's about to go up against someone who's been killing since before Chiwoo was born, someone who's already died once and has absolutely nothing left to fear, someone who will see through whatever persona he adopts because reading people and identifying threats is literally what kept Raiwan alive for 3 decades in a profession where most people don't survive 3 years. Hyunwoo lies in bed that night unable to sleep, staring at the ceiling and thinking about everything that's happened, from waking up in this body to destroying bullies to fighting an elite assassin, and he knows this is just the beginning. He thinks about Yuna and the impossible situation where he's trying to protect the daughter of a man he killed, wonders if he should tell her the truth, or if some secrets are too destructive to ever share, questions whether his presence in her life will ultimately save her or doom her. The morning will come and he'll have to pretend to be a normal student again, will sit in classes and eat lunch and act like he doesn't have fresh wounds hidden under his uniform from a midnight fight with a professional killer, will smile at Yuna and pretend his heart doesn't break every time she mentions her father. But tonight he's making plans and preparing contingencies because he knows the organization won't stop with one failed assassin, knows they'll send someone better next time, knows that the peaceful life he wanted in this second chance is already slipping through his fingers like water. And speaking of the devil, Chiwoo is already on a plane heading to their city, already reviewing his cover story and fake transcripts, already planning how he'll insert himself into Hyunwoo's life and complete a mission that will either end with him celebrated as the one who killed a legend or buried as another name in the long list of people who underestimated the phantom of the Azure Moon and paid the ultimate price for that mistake. The school week starts with Chiwoo walking through the front gates looking like he stepped out of a fashion magazine, and every student in the courtyard stops to stare at this mysterious transfer student who has the kind of face that makes people forget what they were doing. He's wearing the uniform perfectly tailored, moving with this casual confidence that screams expensive upbringing, and the principal himself is escorting him around like he's royalty, which immediately tells everyone that this new kid has serious connections. Hyunwoo spots him from across the courtyard and every single alarm bell in his head starts ringing at maximum volume because something about the way the stranger moves, the way he scans the crowd while pretending not to, the way he positions himself with clear sight lines to all exits, it all screams professional to someone who spent 3 decades identifying threats. Yuna notices Hyunwoo staring and follows his gaze, asks if he knows the new student, and Hyunwoo tells her to stay close to him today because his instincts are telling him something dangerous just walked into their lives wearing a friendly smile. Chiwoo gets introduced to their class during homeroom and he does this whole humble routine about being excited to make new friends and hoping everyone will be patient with him as he adjusts, and the teacher eats it up while half the girls in class are already planning how to ask him out. He gets assigned the empty seat directly behind Hyunwoo, which cannot possibly be a coincidence. And when Chiwoo sits down, he leans forward and introduces himself in this warm, friendly voice, says he heard Hyunwoo recently recovered from a serious accident and he admires people who overcome adversity. The words are kind, but Hyunwoo can feel the weight of analysis behind them, can sense Chiwoo studying his reactions and body language like a scientist examining bacteria under a microscope. Our boy plays it cool and returns the greeting with basic politeness, but internally he's already running through scenarios because he knows exactly what this is, knows the organization sent someone smooth and subtle instead of another brute like Byum, knows that Chiwoo is here to get close and extract information before making his move. Lunch period arrives and Chiwoo somehow manages to insert himself into Hyunwoo and Yuna's routine, shows up at their usual spot with a cafeteria tray and this apologetic expression, asks if he can join them since he doesn't know anyone else yet. Yuna, being the kind person she is, immediately welcomes him, starts asking questions about where he transferred from and what his hobbies are, and Chi-woo has this entire backstory prepared about moving because his father got relocated for work and how he loves photography and classical music. Everything he says is designed to make him likable and relatable, and it's working on Yuna, who keeps smiling and engaging, but Hyunwoo sees through every calculated word because he used to do the exact same thing when infiltrating target locations in his previous life. The conversation flows and Chi-woo casually mentions that he's looking for a part-time job to stay busy, asks if they know any good opportunities, and Hyunwoo realizes with cold certainty that this dude is fishing for information about their families and daily routines under the guise of innocent small talk. After school, Hyunwoo tells Yuna he needs to handle something and walks home alone, except he takes a deliberately complicated route through back alleys and side streets to see if anyone follows. Sure enough, he catches glimpses of Chi-woo tailing him from a distance, staying just far enough back to avoid obvious detection but close enough to track his movements. Hyunwoo leads him on a pointless tour of the neighborhood for 20 minutes before doubling back and appearing directly behind Chi-woo in an alley. Asks him if he's lost or if there's a specific reason he's been following someone he just met today. Chi-woo doesn't even flinch at being caught, just turns around with that same friendly smile and says he was actually hoping to talk privately. Admits that he knows Hyunwoo is more than just a regular student who got lucky against some bullies. The mask drops slightly and Chi-woo's expression shifts into something colder and more professional. Tells Hyunwoo that they should work together because the organization is coming for Yuna either way, and wouldn't it be better to hand over whatever her father left behind peacefully instead of watching everyone he cares about die protecting a secret he doesn't even understand. Hyunwoo asks what makes Chi-woo think he would ever cooperate with the people who murdered an innocent man and are now targeting his daughter, and Chi-woo laughs like this is genuinely funny, says that calling Yuna's father innocent shows how little Hyunwoo actually knows about the situation. He reveals that the man wasn't just an accountant but the organization's chief financial officer who embezzled hundreds of millions and hid evidence of their operations in something he passed to his daughter, that his death wasn't revenge but damage control, that Yuna is sitting on information that could destroy the entire organization if it reaches the wrong hands. This information hits Hyunwoo like a truck because it completely reframes everything, makes him question whether the target he killed in his previous life was actually corrupt like the contract said or if the organization was already dirty back then. Chi-woo continues talking and drops the real bomb, says that the organization knows Hyunwoo is the reincarnation of the Phantom of the Azure Moon, that they've been searching for him across dimensions ever since he died because he was too valuable an asset to lose permanently, that they want to bring him back into the fold with promises of power and resources beyond anything this world can offer. The offer hangs in the air and Hyunwoo realizes the full scope of what he's dealing with, realizes the organization didn't just follow him to this world but has been established here for who knows how long, realizes they've been playing a much longer game than he understood. Chi-woo gives him 24 hours to think about it, says he can either join them willingly and help extract the information from Yuna painlessly, or he can refuse and watch the organization send a full extraction team that will tear apart everyone he loves to get what they want. Before Hyunwoo can respond, his phone buzzes with a text from his mother asking where he is, and when he looks up from the screen, Chi-woo has vanished like smoke, gone so completely that even Hyunwoo's trained senses can't detect which direction he went. Our boy heads home in a daze, processing the information and trying to figure out his next move, trying to decide if he should tell Yuna the truth about her father and the danger she's in, or if that knowledge will only put her at greater risk. That night, Hyunwoo lies awake running through every possible scenario and outcome, weighing the costs of each choice, and he's so focused on strategic planning that he almost doesn't notice when his bedroom window slides open silently. By the time he registers the movement, there's already someone standing at the foot of his bed, and his heart stops because the figure is wearing the exact same tactical gear that BM wore, the signature uniform of the organization's elite operatives. But this isn't BM because this person is smaller and moves differently, and when they pull off their mask, Hyunwoo's entire world tilts sideways because the face looking back at him is impossible, is completely and utterly wrong, is someone who should be dead and buried in another world. The woman standing in his bedroom smiles sadly and speaks in a voice that haunts his dreams every single night, tells him that she's been looking for him for so long, tells him that death wasn't the end for either of them. Yeren stands there alive and breathing and wearing an assassin's uniform, and she whispers that the organization didn't just bring him back, they brought her too, and everything he thinks he knows about his reincarnation is a lie.